Welcome to Agencynomics. We are live with Charli Hunt of Proof Content, and this is our Christmas edition, Charli. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm wearing my Christmassy jumper.
Are you?
Green.
I've got my lockdown hair cap on because lockdown 2, should I say? I get my hair cut tomorrow. I'm so excited. If it's open,
are you going to do it before and after?
Yeah, I probably should do. I look like, do you remember Back to the Future? Do you remember the Mad Professor? That's what my hair looks like right now.
If it really does, that cap's doing an amazing job of hiding it.
It is. And we should just say, first of all, a big thank you to the cap. It came from Fee and Katie at Skin and Blister, who are former guests of the show. They both came to one of our events last year, the Street Walk, Pete, the street meditation event, which happened literally about a week before lockdown. And we went around South Bank, did a bit of, you didn't come, did you, Charli? No, you didn't know it, did you? No. Well, you're going to come to the next one. And we went around, it's amazing. You go around and you sort of like do walking meditation, and you notice all the little small things around areas, and you go away, the little tasks, and you come back, and then we kind of like, it felt like about 14 of us, Pete. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, maybe more, maybe 16, I think. This is pre-social distancing and all that jazz.
Yeah, we all went down the pub afterwards, and we all had a really nice chat. Anyway, they got talking to someone there that day, as you agency owners like to do, and they won some business from it. So as a little thank you, I got a nice little handwritten note and this nice cap, which was very well timed, because
that's great.
The hair's looking pretty dire. So so that's a little bit. Pete,
if they're listening, I'd like a matching one.
Yeah, because Pete co-organized it with me. And so I think actually I've asked Abby to get in touch with them, because I feel like we probably should get these made and stuff. So Caitlin is producing. So thank you to her. I forgot to thank her in the last episode, so I must thank her, because she gives up a lot of time to help us behind the scenes. For those of you who don't know, Caitlin started working for us as a part-time job, and we were very grateful to be able to offer her a full-time job in the last few months. So we've now got a full-time sort of producer, video editor, marketing.
First graduate on the intern scheme at Agencynomics.
Yeah, she's not on the intern scheme though, is she? But we've got our own one we made up, no government ones. But so watch how good Caitlin is, though, everyone, right? So for those of you listening, you can't see this, but if you're on YouTube, you can. So Caitlin, make the show more Christmassy. Look at that. And then we have baubles. What do we think? Leave it? Go with it? Let's do it. It's not in Pete's face last time.
Looks
so
great.
Proper, fully fledged Christmas edition. I feel happier. So I was just saying to Daryl that everyone's we're getting towards the end of the year, and this year's been a pretty tough one on the whole for most people, whether you've been really busy or really quiet, lots of disruption. So we're going to try and find lots of energy for this last show. You up for that, Charli?
Yeah, it's one last push. It feels like the end of term, but we can do it. Pete especially with our Christmas baubles.
Exactly. And Pete said to me a couple of days ago, he said, was it something like count down the days? It's a bit like when we ran that long distance down to Poole. We keep counting down the miles. So we're going to get there. So one last push. So Charli, we only really know each other, I guess, in some strange way. I know because of the book, because you read it and then kindly offered to copyright it properly for us, which is the joke of all copywriters that have ever contacted me after reading Agencynomics. But you found the community, and we got to know each other, three of us, through there. And I just want to start by saying that, you've been an amazing breath of fresh air, like your enthusiasm, your participation, the fact that you're engaged all the time, and you have been so helpful to us. And I'm really grateful for all the help you've given us on fixing the last couple of versions of the book and just tweaking the spelling here and there and everywhere else. And thank you for all your support.
Yeah, thank you. That was a tough job, I bet.
No, thank you guys. Honestly, I think finding the Agencynomics community has been a highlight of 2020. I think you can't go to networking events and things. So yeah, it's been great connecting with everyone.
Yeah, but you are quite a good sort of super attendee, aren't you, as well? You're very good at putting yourself out there. And I've been to a few different different events, and you've been there, and I think it's really good, that you've got that approach, because, and I think weirdly, the last few months has lent itself a lot for people getting themselves out there, because there has been more online events, travel's not been a problem, and things like that. So yeah, it's good. So where in the world are you based? Because I think you live in London, but I got a sneaky feeling you're hiding in the country somewhere.
No, yeah, first lockdown I was hiding away near Oxford, but I'm now back in my flat in Crystal Palace. So
Crystal Palace.
Nice to be in London. Yeah.
So what are your feelings around the future? Like for you, obviously someone's based in London. Do you think the whole experience has made you appreciate being more out of town? Obviously, or do you think London will just have its resurgence in another 12 months and life will go back to normal?
I think we'll have a bit of a hybrid, because I think so many people have bought property outside of London now. So I don't think they're going to want to commute in 5 days a week. And, speaking to my team and lots of other people, I think a sort of 3 days in the office, 2 days out seems to be what everybody's interested in doing. And I worked from home for about 5 years, and it was okay, but you just miss those stupid in jokes, and like you just come up with much more ideas when you're in the office with everybody, I think.
Yeah, I think agencies are definitely collaborative businesses, and I think it's if there's less office based activities going on, they're going to struggle with collaboration, and creativity in general, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the key thing really is, I think that people are going to need to get people together again. I just spoke to Darren about this recently, about in the podcast, around just the culture is what makes you different. And if you're all working remotely, of course the values that your team members have will help towards a culture, but it's those moments when you get together, like Pete and I, actually, a lot of people don't really understand, others don't know this, but actually we've had a fully distributed business in Cactus since 2010. I mean, we've never had offices. We've always worked remote. Obviously we go to clients and we work together, so we see each other quite frequently, but we really treasure those team trips away that we do. We've even got scrolling Christmas trees now.
I love that.
See, this is why everyone needs to have a Gen Z producer in their business. Yeah, because next thing you know, it'll all be on TikTok and everything, So Charli, tell us, I've been very privileged because you've actually done a couple of talks in the community on your backstory, but for those people who don't know about you, would you mind sharing with you? Because I think you do have a really lovely backstory, and you come from good genes, don't you?
I do, yeah. I have a lot to live up to. So I always tell people my business actually started in 1904, which is when my great
enough.
Pardon?
You don't look old enough.
Really good night cream, really good.
Really? Like 100 and quick maths, Pete, 117 or something. No, 120. It's a lot, yeah. Okay, sorry.
So my great grandfather, I think, set up Foyles the bookshop with his brother, and I think they turned over £100 in their first year. But yeah, obviously it went from strength to strength then, and I'm actually very lucky as well, because one side of my family, so his brother's side, they are very rich, and on my side of the family, Christina Foyle, who is known to be was known to be quite harsh, gave all her money away to charity. So actually I think it's quite good, because it gives you that sort of drive when you have kind of, you haven't been handed everything. It's quite useful. And yeah, so my granny had her own accountancy firm, which I think was quite rare for women in the 60s and 70s. And then my dad's had lots of different businesses, including an airline. He's also got a marketing agency now, and yeah, lots of other bits and bobs. So yeah, I wrote my
proper entrepreneurial roots there. Lots of entrepreneurs in the, yes, you say a lot to live up to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Yeah,
don't fuck
exactly.
it up. Sorry.
I know. Well, that's why I think, start early. Got plenty of time to make mistakes and plenty of time to succeed. So hopefully.
I'm sure. So tell us about the business today.
When set it up when I was freelancing at uni, and I just accidentally found more clients than I could service myself. So the idea was actually always going to be that I would have a network of freelance writers, and that's what we would do. We would just kind of connect writers with people. But actually, as you say, it's so difficult to find freelancers with the same values and keep them going when you're in a remote team. So yeah, we've switched now. So everything comes through the in-house team before it goes to any clients. All the strategy, all the briefs come from us as well. And then we just sort of bring in freelancers when we need them for different industries. But yeah, I think now, yeah, lots of things have changed this year. So beginning of 2020, about 65% of our revenue was from travel clients. And obviously March, that just totally got wiped out. Yeah, so in a way, good that we've got that kind of hybrid freelance and in-house model. But yeah, luckily we've managed to build up the other industries that we were in. So
is any of those travel clients coming back at all, or what's happening there? Do you see that happening in early next year, middle of next year? Because we've got some agencies.
I think we're allowed to travel to Europe anymore after Sunday, Pete. So
we'll have to travel around it.
So I think there's definitely a sentiment, I think, in the travel community of they've had a lot of cash help from the government, and now they're looking to actually get some money back from that cash. So there's definitely an increase in people spending now with agencies, but it's quite slow. And we're doing a project with some of our clients to help them. So a lot of their product team who are kind of half furloughed, we're getting them to kind of write the base content and really use their expertise, and then we're kind of editing it so it works for SEO and UX and everything, and it can go on the website. So there's bits and bobs coming through, but it's not January is normally the biggest period for travel, so I think it's going to be very difficult for the industry if they miss out on that month.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the thing that I noticed, Pete and I looked into this sort of last time in 2008-9 recession, was if you look at the sectors that were hit, it takes typically about 3 years to recover properly. So but it will recover, and because at the end of the day, people need their breaks, as we've all learned, especially this year more than ever. And there'll probably be a bit of a I mean, I can only imagine that lots of people will want to go and have some really good experiences and good holidays away. So it's just the environmental impact, I guess, in many ways, and what's going to change, because I think a lot of the airlines have lost a lot of their old planes now through this process. They've managed to sort of liquidate, lose the planes, and maybe that give them a chance to buy more electric planes. Or I know in Norway they're using biofuels and stuff on the planes there. But I think it will recover. What did you learn any lessons though around focusing on sectors? What do you think now there's a lesson that you've learned from it?
Definitely. I've always known, you have lots of different people telling you lots of different things, and someone I really trust said just niche and just focus on travel, and because your model works so well with it. But I think I've been in the travel industry about 10 years now, and I think there was the ash cloud disaster with the Iceland thing. There's Brexit. There's any time something happens, holidays are the first thing to go, and travel, there's so many risks involved that I always knew, but I just, you're not going to turn down clients when they come your way, especially if they're a perfect fit. So yeah, it's definitely taught me that I need to, trust my own instincts, but also act on them and just get on with it. And really measure what we're doing. And luckily we weren't, only 65%. So, I mean, that is a lot, but you still got case studies in other industries.
You remember what we wrote in the book about this subject?
No, I don't.
Don't you? So it's interesting because there's a few things in the book that got pretty much out of date now because of COVID. And we have a section in the book called Eggs in One Basket. And one of the things I used to get frustrated a lot of the time, because you can do four things. You can focus on what you sell to a focused audience, or focus on what you sell, narrow services to a wide audience. Or you could say, well, we've got a load of services and we'll offer those to a very narrow audience, or you've got a load of services and you offer it to a wide audience. But the reality is the narrower you focus in one area or the other, normally the more cut through you get. And there's no question of that. People want to buy people that understand their businesses. But I've always said, don't put your eggs in one basket. Don't just have one sector. And if you do have one sector, and pharmaceutical is probably the one sector that appears to be bulletproof, let's be honest. But, and maybe one could argue FMCG and the supermarkets, as well. Like, there's certain things in recessions, food and drink tend to do quite well. But I think it's just really important to have some periphery sectors, like if you do travel, great, but maybe then also do, more localized, maybe UK travel as well as international, or do things maybe that clothing that's sold for holiday season. I don't know, like try and find things that kind of are sort of close, but and kind of make sense, but maybe give you a chance to pivot if you need to. And I think that we said try to not keep your sector more than 25% of your business. We said, I think a client in the book, I used to say 10 to 12%, but I think certainly if you can keep the sector, to within 25%, and that can be hard. But I mean, if you focus, some people focus on sport, I know, and I was like, well, you should have done sport, and then also maybe sports that could be done at home, and people that sell sporting equipment, and maybe sport clothing, and then you could have just moved, because some of that stuff did work quite well. So I do think there's a really good lesson, by the way, for anyone that got hit by niching. That said, I have heard of agencies that did do that, and they still got hit with all four areas being hit by, which is just bad luck, But so where are you focusing now? Where's the attention gone to?
So retail, tech, and finance what are working for us at the moment. I think we sort of, in April, I just decided I'm just going to go after whatever we can, and those are the three that have worked out really well for us. Especially because e-commerce content is so useful. So.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, which is common to a lot of the agencies we have who have a kind of freelance distributed model, particularly copywriters, is have you found it difficult to find further resource to cater with the new sectors? Because one of the things I find with copywriters is that they focus on particular areas. So have any of your resource been able to switch and learn more about these new sectors, or have you had to go out to the market and find new people with those expertise?
So with retail, we've been able to use the same writers, because you don't really need, everybody is involved in retail in some way in their personal life. So there's not that kind of expertise needed, and they already understand how to write for SEO and for the audience. So as long as they understand exactly who the audience is, it's worked out fine. Also, I think, women tend to be in charge of booking travel, and women are also mainly targeted by retail. So that's worked out pretty well, especially because most freelance writers are female, interestingly. But yeah, with tech and finance, we've already kind of dabbled in those areas. So we've just kind of strengthened our network there, where we felt we were weak. But I'm always on the lookout for new writers, and people are amazing. As soon as you say I work with freelance writers, they're like, oh, can I introduce you to this person? And actually, so our network is huge. It's just that we can't use people all the time. So
no.
I think the thing I love the most about the freelance writing market is that they truly get the opportunity, in my opinion, to do that work from anywhere. Like, there's one business that can work from anywhere. It's a freelance writer, yeah? Because you could just go and live anywhere and write, couldn't you?
Definitely, yeah. The only problem we've had with that is with translations. So I say that all of our translators have to, obviously, which is quite standard, have to translate into their mother tongue, but they also have to be living in the market that they're writing for, because you could have lived here in the UK for 20 years and you just lose all those nuances. So it is important to still have your foot in the market, I think, and really understand what's going on.
Yeah. But if someone was doing loads of writing for you in, let's say, retail, they could just jump on a plane, right? And just go and live anywhere, work and write and travel and write. And it does lend itself quite nicely to that.
A lot of our writers will kind of come to us and say, I'd like to work for you for a year. And it'll either be people who already work at another agency and they want to kind of save up for a house or something, or they'll want to travel for a year and they'll just take time off and work for us, which is great.
And you did say something very interesting earlier on, actually. I think, Pete, when we were with Blue Halo, there's a lot of people we used to interview who were freelancers who said, yeah, I've just had enough being by myself. I just want to be in company of other people. And that often, it was interesting when people left me to go freelance, I'd often say to them, hey, you know, just be aware. Sometimes you will miss that interaction with everybody. So I think a lot of people have felt that this year.
Yeah, I think so. I advertised for an editor over the summer and we had 3,000 applications. And so many people were just freelance writers who are just sick of finding their own jobs and being worried about money security. And yeah, so
are you naturally a writer, or are you or not? Are you just more of an entrepreneur, business owner, agency owner?
I think I'm a bit of both. I think I'm probably more naturally a business owner. But I've always, I mean, look at all my books behind me. I've always just read, you know, since I could read, I guess. So I think then writing comes quite naturally with reading. But yeah, I think it was interesting, Spencer, when we first met, you said that I'm an extrovert, but actually a friend of mine said the other day, she thinks I'm a high functioning shy person.
Did I think you're an extrovert? Is that because of the personality test that came on that you did on the in the community? You know,
I think they've sent so many people into the community, maybe. But I'm not naturally a sort of.
It's funny you a lot of extrovert. Quite weird that I said that. I don't know whether that is because sometimes on those personality tests, if it has an E in it, it can be, but it actually. I don't know that you do, but I just like the fact that you are everywhere and you do put yourself out there. I think that's, you know, I think Pete and I are often kicking, you know, some of the people we work with, going, you've got to get out there, you know, and I think you're a shining example of that.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking about that, and actually, when I first started working for someone else, when I was 19, I was too shy to like talk in meetings of 5 people that I worked with every day. And now, you know, you train yourself to just put yourself out there and go into a room full of people you don't know. And it's just not that daunting anymore.
Yeah, but you've got to watch the quiet ones in meetings because they're always the ones with something very important to say.
Exactly.
They're always the clever people. In fact, we had that
like Pete.
This week. It's true. And whenever he says something, it's very profound. Go on, Pete, say something.
Oh, God.
I timed that perfectly.
But the thing I like about you focusing on retail, by the way, because not only because I'm an ex-retailer, but it's because I feel pained at the moment because there's a lot of people losing their jobs in the high street. But at the same time, I also, you know, personally think that, you know, people have got to, sometimes in life you've got to retrain and you've got to cover new areas. But I have been really, really excited by the growth of the direct to consumer, the D2C marketplace, and how brands now are kind of really channeling that away from retail. And, you know, and obviously COVID has accelerated all of our purchasing online. Have you seen much evidence of that yourself? Sort of product brands trying to go direct to consumers?
Yeah, definitely. We've had loads of so one of our clients is Rohan, and they, you know, they're doing really well online now, and I think it took a while to persuade their management team that was the right decision to make, but you know, and they started to move away before March, actually, which was very helpful for them. But people are all about being outside now as well, so they've had a great time, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's loads of people that, you know, in the past have maybe just manufactured products and just always, you know, sold them into retail channels, and there's just no need now, right? You know, you can go direct direct, and it is very easy to get, you know, the market share and the tone of voice, and obviously an increased demand for good SEO and good marketing of products and stuff. So, but it's been great to see that, and I just hope many of the people in the high street who have lost their jobs can go. I mean, online training is now so accessible. Go online and, you know, consider learning things like digital marketing, because there is still a skill shortage in it. You know, generally it's quite hard to find people. So
exactly. And I think also, you know, one of the functions that online content serves on a website is that people don't go into a shop anymore, and so they don't have that amazing customer service, and they don't have those really detailed product focused people. And so when we work with clients, we work very closely with their product teams as well as their marketing team, because they have all this knowledge, and it's, you know, being able to tell the customer exactly why one product is better for them than another is what the content needs to serve. Really, it needs to take the place of a shop assistant now.
Yeah, it's very true. You know, the descriptions mean everything, and sometimes they're just very boring, aren't they? They're just like very functional and practical and not necessarily creative.
Or machine written.
Or machine written, yeah. Can we talk about machine learning and stuff like that? Do you know much about it? And
yeah, so they've cracked it. They've pretty much done AI content now. And
so
I think
was the Guardian first? Used the Google, is that right? The
GPT-3. So it's by OpenAI, who've given an exclusive license to Microsoft at the moment. So all of the people like my writers who are having their jobs stolen aren't able to use it yet. So we don't know what's going to happen with it, really.
Microsoft have a platform called Cognitive Services in the cloud. I wonder if it's being plugged into that. It's like, I don't know the details, I need to check it. But the bottom line is that the Guardian, they ran a week, didn't they, where they got all the articles to be written by the AI.
I didn't know that. I saw one written by the AI. The problem is you have to let it run about 10 times and then select the best article. So at the moment you still need a human eye over it. And I think it's such an interesting example of how, if you're one of those content agencies that's just churning out loads of product pages and not putting any thinking behind it, you're in danger now from machines. But if you're doing a lot of the strategy and the thinking, and you know, you're writing really good content, then there's not really anything to worry about.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's fascinating though how that's all happening.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. It was quite, well, maybe it's not that much of a surprise to everybody else, but there's a fake influencers. Did you see that?
Lil Michaela is the one I follow on Instagram. She's an AI influencer. So interesting.
Yeah, they've got like 1 million followers. I mean, do half of those people know that they're fake? I mean, what? Yeah,
people know that she's AI and they still follow her, and I guess it's so interesting because she works with brands. They pay her. She never has an off day. She never has bad skin.
What did she spend it on? What did she spend her earnings on?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I think we need to get avatars for you and I, and basically we'll get caricatures done, and then we'll just bugger off somewhere hot, and we'll just let the AI take over.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Feed it with all the advice. I actually did register SpencerAI. I did have a plan to do a machine learning version of me at one point as a pilot. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. I better double check I've renewed the domain name. Now I've said it out loud live on air. But but then we probably need to redo it at Spencer and Pete AI, because then you get the full financial experience as well as the entrepreneurial sales and marketing version.
I'm just checking. I don't think you have.
Oh shit, it's gone. Damn. Oh well. Serves me right for not managing my domain names properly. So you've got new sectors you're focusing. What was the biggest thing, would you say, that you changed this year? But you know, from March, I guess, to now, what's changed the most? Is it the service offering or the sectors, or a bit of both?
I think it's the sector. It's more the sectors. And more just, I think with the lack of travel time and things, I've just had a lot more time to actually think very strategically about what we're doing with the agency, and you know, how we're working with clients, and how we're offering kind of more than what they ask for, and not just being a product. So I think, it's actually, in a way, 2020's been pretty good for me.
Have you
not
found,
money-wise, but
no,
strategy-wise.
the clients have become more results-focused, demanding a bit more value or bang for buck, really, I was going to say.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think, and there's just more, it feels like there's more competition. I think maybe just because I'm so well known in travel, and so now it's quite difficult when you kind of going into a client and they haven't had lots of people recommend you. That does make things trickier. So you do have to think about much more strategically about what you're offering and how you're actually helping them. And it's a different sector, so it's, your brain's not kind of on autopilot, and you can't use as many things as you've learned from the previous client. Although in a way SEO is very similar across all industries, really, and it's the same way of kind of digging into the data and really understanding what's going on.
Yeah. Do you think that this year has made you more motivated for the future? Do you think it's fired you up more, or do you think it's been, because it's also been quite a big upheaval, but has it made you more ambitious?
Definitely. I think
well.
I think a lot of business owners are quite like things to be different, and quite like a change, and I quite like a crisis, if I'm honest. So
on something there. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they thrive better when in uncertainty, and I think they like that. And when it's a bit too comfortable, they're not so good in that position. I think what you say. So would you say that happened to you? Did you find that sort of you switched almost?
Definitely. I think that probably a small part of me was running on autopilot before, and I don't like process, really, and I don't like doing the same thing every day. And so I think when something like this happens, it's just taught me that I need to build in to every day. I need to build in kind of doing something different and thinking ahead and having a problem to solve, because there's always problems to solve, whether it's coronavirus or an annoying employee or a client that's not treating you very well or hasn't paid you, or there's always a problem to solve.
Always
so
a challenge, just very true.
So I think just focusing on solving that one, then getting the next challenge and solving that one, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, we definitely noticed it though, haven't we, Pete? We noticed that some of the people we work with just seem to up their game a lot.
Everyone got a bit sharper, I think, around not just finances, but across the business. Delivery techniques, processes, improvements, that kind of thing. Sales techniques, managing pipelines, etc. I just think it's made everyone sit up in their chairs a little bit more and really focus on where their business is going. Most people we work with and have come across have got successful businesses, but as you say, a crisis like this really makes you, focuses the mind, doesn't it?
Definitely. And it helps you get rid of that imposter syndrome, because you think, if I can survive this, we can survive anything.
Yeah.
Do you like, as I said, I've always been quite impressed by the way you put yourself out there, and you're always attending events and stuff that I see us organizing as an example. Would you say that you've changed from, let's say, this time last year to this year? Did you used to go to a lot of events before?
I used to try and go to one event a week, I think.
Okay.
But I find I'm much better talking to people one-on-one rather than in a group. So it's been very good for me, the kind of online stuff, because you are much more one-on-one with people. You're not kind of going into a room and then having to have a conversation for 30 minutes and then try and find somebody else. Or I'm not good at that stuff.
Yeah, well, there you go. So there's no sense why I would have called you an extrovert then, because I think, the reality is, I think this whole period has really helped, been a good leveler for all personality types, because, if you aren't that person that loves going into rooms, then you've been able to, it's been easy to just jump on a Zoom, right, and have a chat, and it feels like you're at home. You've got a bit of safety in your own house. You're not having to sort of, go to some strange venue and cling on to your drink for dear life while you talk to someone. I think it's been a really positive experience for a lot of people, that, and I think we've seen a lot of businesses where in the past I used to say, you've got to meet 50 new people every month, or have lots of meaningful conversations, balk at the thought of it. But actually, people who would never normally have done that now finding it quite comfortably easy to do that. Are you on lunchclub.ai?
Yes, yeah, I love Lunch Club. I've met some really interesting people on there. It's been really.
I think I've been a member since a very early stage, and I've still not used it once because my diary. We were joking the other day because Daniel Priestley, who you might have heard of, he put his diary up on Twitter and said, "Look how busy I've been." And Abby sent Pete and I a message and went, "Part-timer compared with you two." That was quite funny. So unfortunately, it keeps going every Monday morning, Lunch Club AI. Would you like to do some calls this week? And I'm looking at my diary going, no, I'm sorry. Maybe next month. Anyway, but it's good, is it? Yeah. Has it helped?
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped, especially because I'm trying to get, away from travel a little bit. So I think that's been quite helpful. And another thing I think that's been good this year is I've had a lot more access to much senior people in teams. Maybe because some people have been furloughed, but also because people have just had more time to give you. They're not in meetings all day. So it has allowed us to kind of build that confidence in having more of a hand in the strategy around content rather than just, doing what a client.
You say that because I heard that a lot at the beginning. Everyone was saying, "Oh, it's really great. I can get hold of my client now, or I can get hold of and I can get hold of the people I'm trying to talk to." And then it kind of went the other way. And a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm struggling to get hold of anybody." But actually, I think I'm glad you said that because I believe it must be a lot easier without them having to commute, with them being around and, being able to do, but also being used to doing video calls. Whereas maybe before, it's all about trying to get a face-to-face meeting with someone and often they weren't set up to do Zoom and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting you say that. I hope that continues. And I hope it continues more globally so that, all agencies are able to access people all around the world and do just 15-minute intro chats and not have to, because it often can be quite hard to get hold of, especially senior marketeers who, I think one of them once said to me, if I just answered the phone calls and emails that I get from agencies, I would have a full-time job just doing that alone. Which is always a good reminder when people say that's what they do as a service to help you find business. So, you've got to empathize with the people you're targeting. So that's been fascinating. One of the things that I really wanted to tune in today, because I feel like we don't always cover this in a lot of detail, is the transition that you made. When did you start the business now? How many years ago?
I think it was 2013 I started it. So 7 years.
How long were you just one person, just by yourself?
Absolutely ages. So I set it up while I was at uni, and I stupidly did my finals at the same time as rewriting a 3,500 page website. And then I decided I would be too lonely working on my own straight after uni, and I also wanted to see how content fit with the rest of marketing. So I went to work for somebody else for a couple of years, so I guess it took me about 5 years to hire somebody else. And I think that is my biggest mistake, actually. I think just as soon as you've got the money and you've got the client signed up, I think you need to hire someone because you cannot focus on delivering the work and the pipeline properly on your own.
What was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of making the decision to hire someone?
I was just too scared about money, so I just took out a loan and just used that as backup in case anything happened.
Who was the first hire?
My editor. She's great.
Still with you?
Yes, yeah, she is. Yeah. I've been very lucky actually with turnover of staff, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny, Pete, because we're often, a lot of people, they put that barrier up. They go, "Oh, I've got to recruit someone," and they think about the total salary, and they don't. Obviously, it doesn't cost that much, right? It costs the monthly amount. So hopefully, when someone comes in, as long as you get them to a place where they can pay for themselves in a short period of time, then then it's okay. And it's I used to have this thing where I used to say, if someone costs £25,000 a year, it was £500 a day. So I've only got to sell them for 1 day a week for 4 weeks to cover the cost of their salary, which is kind of a rough way of working it out. But, and it would maybe cost me £2,500 or £2,500 with tax a month to pay for someone. but that's only, you know, 10 grand over 4 months, not £25,000 from day one, right? So sometimes there's some of those initial things when you're going from 1 to 2 that you worry about. But I keep saying to everyone as well, like at the moment, you know, there's a lot of talk about 100% distributed teams, and there are some great agencies that do it. We talked about in the book about one, we talked on this show many a time, but you know, they'll often go, oh, it's like the Uber model, but the Uber has head office staff. Uber has full-time staff. It's just the drivers that don't. So sometimes you might find you have, as you do, you've got probably really reality got a team of 100 people, right? Because you've got all of these potential access to these amazing talented freelance contractors and copywriters, etc. But actually internally you probably do need to have sometimes some continuity of service where, you know, it's quite hard to have an account manager, you know, who is a contractor who's working for 3 or 4 companies and, you know, trying to service a client who wants to get an answer straight away, right? So, or a project manager who's working for other companies. So it does make sense. And I think in the end
also, as a business owner, you always find the money you need. You sometimes need to give yourself that fear.
Interesting, right? Yeah, you almost like you take yourself, if you commit to it, then you find a way to pay for it almost. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
I think that's a very, very good attribute actually of a lot of entrepreneurs. I think I've always taken that approach personally. I've always gone, I want it, so I'm going to find a way to pay for it rather than, you know, necessarily save up for something. So you went from, you took on the first person, and was there any big lessons from that? I mean, how long did it take in reality for that person to pay for themselves?
Yeah, so that was I think I should have spent more time training them, and it's just that time out of your day to check their work and then spend time giving them the feedback. But that's so valuable. So probably about 6 months, and then it was all fine.
Yeah, and then you got the bug and started recruiting more people.
Yeah, so we're still only 3. We've got 1 more joining in January. But yeah, I think I've got big plans for recruitment next year, so we'll see.
Good, that's good to hear. So, Pete, what else do we wanted to cover off today in our conversation? One of the things that I did want to talk to Charli about was getting because Pete and I always have this conversation about when we're putting content together, how Pete, I need to give Pete the title sometimes. He's a brilliant writer. Like, he can write something in less than 30 seconds. It takes me an hour to write 3 sentences, but I've got all the ideas but can't write, and he's got no ideas and can write. So
and have no idea.
but when you do get the idea, the content is
easy. Yeah, but then I think, you know, we're just opposites, aren't we? You know, you're the idea generator. I'm like, oh my god, there's an idea. Smash it.
Yeah. And when you write, you always get loads more. Like everyone always likes the post. I always joke, like, Pete gets so much more engagement, and many everyone's so shocked he's written. Yeah, basically,
like, oh my god, he's still alive.
But also the content's not as fluffy. It's all quite meaningful stuff. So you know, you wrote a post I saw in the last week or so, I think, on, you know, how do you get your creative ideas. So I'd love you to sort of share any tips and advice you'd give us around writing, or anyone listening around, you know, what are there any kind of, I guess, on both sides, how to come up with ideas, and also maybe writing, you know, when to write, how to write.
So Spencer, if you're not a natural writer, I think the best thing is to record voice notes and then just ask somebody else to quickly write them up for you, because all content now is moving towards being written as we would speak it. So especially now we've got a lot of speakable tech coming into the market now. So so I would say the best thing is just to record it and then just ask somebody else to write it up if that's your bottleneck. Because it's not that hard to transcribe, and you still catch that tone of voice that someone has when you hear their voice notes. So that's fine. Coming up with ideas, I think, is the most difficult one. And I think,
sorry, Pete,
you just have to let yourself be a bit bored sometimes. You have to read, you know, whatever it is that you've just got to figure out, whatever it is that gives you ideas. So is it talking to people? Is it going to talks? Is it listening to TED Talks on your lunch break? Is it reading a business book on your lunch break? Is it reading fiction in the evening?
The thing that I've found, sorry to interrupt, is, there's lots of things that happen in my day. I talk to lots of clients, I have other calls, networking, interactions, and there's always something that happens in a day that I feel is, something that's worth sharing with other people. The issue is keeping track of that stuff, I think, for me, or someone saying, that's a thing that happened today, that's interesting. But for me, it's about getting outside and actually not thinking too much about work. Sometimes the ideas just pop into my head when I'm not thinking about other things.
Maybe you can create a WhatsApp group, and you and Spencer can put your voice notes in there for your content ideas, like as you go through the day, and then you can just go
mine
back
will be like, hey, I need another idea.
He hates WhatsApp though, Charlie.
He hates WhatsApp, really?
He hates it, yeah, because he likes big, long, detailed emails.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm the opposite. I hate email and love WhatsApp, and he loves email and so it's not very compatible when we're working.
Yeah,
replies to emails. He doesn't reply to my WhatsApp, so we never really get to talk to each other.
We just don't speak. He's put a WhatsApp and I've replied to an email.
But when it works, the formula is Pete will say something genius, like he does quite a lot, and I'll go, that's a post. I get really excited because I get jealous because I'm thinking, I wish I could write that post, but it's his content. And then he'll literally write it in 10 seconds and it'll be up. But I guess it's just probably down to me. Actually, when I see him do it, I probably got to help him. I've got to have a formula to write these things down and then share them with him. It's probably what it is.
You just got, if you've got an iPhone, they're so good at syncing notes between different phones and different computers and things, and on your iPad as well. So you can, you always can just write down notes as you have them. But I think it's getting into the habit of writing down the ideas when you have them. And just finding the best way for you.
I spoke to Ryan O'Keefe the other day from Jago, and we were talking about this actually. And he actually just keeps a Google Doc of all his ideas. So you have an idea, and then on his phone when he's walking, he'll just tap a sentence in that will trigger that post. And he showed me the document. He's got like this much stuff in there for future things that he's going to talk about. So he's got a library of ideas that he's building up, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. And then you can bulk write things as well, because once you've had the ideas, once you're in a sort of writing mood, I mean, I don't know how many people get in a writing mood, but for me, if I get up at 5, I know I can do like 2 hours of writing, and it's not gonna, it won't make me tired. So if you can then do that, then you can just bosh out a few posts and then just schedule them when you need to put them up. Because otherwise you just find you're writing all the time.
Yeah.
So if so I think this is a really, really fascinating thing to talk about. I mean, because I think a lot of people that, Charlie, that we kind of work with, they often struggle to write posts. And you talked about imposter syndrome earlier on. There's a lot of different reasons why. But there's no question that the more you do it, the more you get into the flow. But it is about, I like this conversation we're having now, because it is about all of us being honest about what our weaknesses are and trying to overcome them and go, what am I bad at? Well, I'm bad at this. So how do we work around that as a group or as a team, or find someone to help you? And that's what I love about, I guess, the agency community especially, is that you guys, I mean, I saw yesterday you were on a big call with Nathan, I think. Was it one of the... Yeah, there you go. There you are again, out there. I saw your face on the group of owners. But I guess it's quite good that you guys all talk, owners are great at sharing advice with each other, right? And helping.
It's such a good community. I think there's not that many other industries where people are competitors, but they don't really see each other as competitors.
You wouldn't imagine a community of recruitment agents, or which wouldn't quite be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny, when Pete and I finished the journey at Blue Halo, when we sold the business, someone came up to me and said to me, "Oh yeah, but everyone in business, they're bastards." And I was like, "Do you know what? I think it was about 11 years Blue Halo's journey. I was like, I just didn't find that at all. Like, actually, everyone in business was really lovely and really wonderful." And then I moved into consultancy, I don't realize what they were going on about, but genuinely, sorry, Pete.
That person you spoke to must have had some really, really bad experiences, right?
Yeah.
Burnt to say everyone's a bastard. I mean, we've all had a handful of experiences in life where a supplier has, not had a great experience, or a customer, relationship has deteriorated or whatever. And actually, we've got a bit of a segue this, but we've got our funny stories LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
We've got a few stories about people who, if we can call bastards, which we can laugh about now, 10 years later. But at the time, you're like, well, how did these people get on in business? Who does any business with them if they're like that?
Yeah, it's true.
Opposite of my approach, which is, and I like this community. Everyone's open, giving, honest, empathetic. That's great to see that things like you had yesterday, that call with Nathan and others, just happens. I love that.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think I found that really difficult to accept, because I've always grown up around, my dad and his friends are all fairly successful entrepreneurs, and if someone sold their business for million, in the hundreds of millions, you're going to listen to them, and they're like, you need to be really tough in business, and you need to, and you need to be tough. You need to not really care whether everybody likes you or wants your product, because it becomes so personal.
I think that's a generational thing. I think people have in business. I was talking to this the other day. We had an instance of this where Spencer and I were on a board call, and we had to listen to a legal thing between a client and one of our clients and one of their customers. And the guy, it was like listening to somebody in business in the 19s.
A very angry Lord Sugar. That's how
Lord Sugar times 50.
Oh, this guy must have been bursting blood vessels. He was screaming, and the authority and the dominance and the power. It was like proper old school business person. I was sitting there. I was laughing actually, because it was quite entertaining. But Pete,
the client came off the call and he was like, you just had to listen to what I'm dealing with this guy. We were like, okay, well, we have met people like this in the past. It's been a while, but we'll do our best to advise you.
Yeah, it's definitely the generation, I think, before me. They were very, very aggressive, in business.
I had the same thing. My wife's grandfather was the managing director of Treeboard, a sweet company. And we used to go around to his house and everyone was like, he's quite a scary guy. And he was scary in business, but I think it was just that generational thing. But to his family, it's the nicest bloke ever, and always had a lot of time for me when I was,
You must have had a lot of sweets when you were younger.
He used to bring home like the seconds where the wrappers weren't quite right and stuff like that, and big boxes.
Oh, great! So here you are, kids. You can have all the reject sweets.
Yeah,
he really loved you, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Lucy's granddad, so he had all that. That's fine.
So, I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot, Charlie, and ask you is anything funny incidents happened in your business, but we're going to be doing this the podcast because we started to write down a couple of the funny. In fact, we started speaking the other day on LinkedIn Live with the guys from Jago, and someone said, "You guys had some funny things happen to you." So we kind of made this big long list, and yeah, we're going to do a live show on it next week. So if you can think of anything funny, then we might get you back on another episode to share it. Or have you got anything now you want to share with us?
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
No,
it's really annoying.
But one of the ones
I've actually during 2020 I've seen 2 people's naked children come into Zoom calls.
What?
That's been quite funny.
Yeah, but there's definitely been a lot of very embarrassing Zoom call action going on. But let's hope they weren't videoing it or something. And it goes.
Luckily, it was not being recorded, and I'm very used to children, so it's fine.
Yeah, the when you were talking about retail earlier on, whenever and talking about that sector, I always, and this is obviously before I actually had the agency. I used to run a PC World store in the very early days when it first came out, to show how old I am. I think there was store number 7 in the UK, and I was looking for Saturday staff, and I put an advert in the local newspaper in Guildford, and it was like, wanted weekend staff, Saturday or Sunday, please apply. And so anyway, I had loads of CVs sent in, And so I worked my way through the names, and I rang this one number, and I said, hi, can I speak to Jimmy Woodruff, please? And the lady down the phone went, hello, who is that? And I went, oh, hi there, Spencer Gallagher here from PC World. She goes, PCU? It wasn't his knife. I was like, no, PC World, the store. We sell computers. Like, anyway, so we've got a lot of those kind of. I hung up at that moment. I kind of figured he probably wasn't the best person to have a weekend job, especially if it wasn't his knife. There were a few other funny incidents then, but if you do come across any very funny things anyway, let us know, and we'll get you on one of our LinkedIn live shows where we'll be highlighting the alternative side of business when things go a little bit wrong. So it's been lovely having you on our show today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh no, it's great, and thank you for being a massive supporter of the book and the community and everything. And you're actually in our masterclass as well now, so we're going to be spending even more time together, which is wonderful to see as well. So, that's been great, and that was a nice bit of normal conditions, wasn't it? When we all went out to the Four Seasons, and it was real life during lockdown.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, so lots more of that to come. So yeah, thanks for your time today. I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. And I will put a link to Charli's LinkedIn profile in the show notes. And if you're in the community, you can find her there as well. So thanks everyone for listening today. And that